By the mid-1960s then, the seeds of what would one day grow into MEDEX Northwest were sown. But there remained a significant career milestone for Smith to reach before that could happen. Working with the Public Health Service, Dr. Smith assumed the title of Director of Operations. His most significant assignment in this role was to oversee the desegregation of all the hospitals in the United States. Desegregation was a required component of the newly created Medicare program. All hospitals wishing to become Medicare providers, and there were thousands, would have to be certified in compliance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. What did compliance mean? Minority patients could no longer be denied access to any service provided by the hospital or to any part of the hospital. Patient rooms, cafeterias, restrooms, even the blood supply had to be integrated. Qualified minority physicians, residents, nurses, and medical technicians could no longer be denied employment opportunities. Oh, and by the way, all of this had to be accomplished by the end of July 1966, or in about 6 months' time. Some 1,000 volunteers in support of the effort were transferred from the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare to the Public Health Service and were placed under the supervision of Dr. Smith. As things were underway, Smith received a phone call from Vice President Hubert Humphrey. The two of them had met at the White House Conference on Health in November 1965. "President Johnson wants you to go to Marshall, Texas," Smith recalls Humphrey telling him. "The president wants to send a message that he's deadly serious, and he wants that message to be loud and clear." So, at age 34, Richard Smith, an African-American doctor from the North and working on behalf of the federal government, was being sent to Texas as a walking message from Lyndon Johnson that desegregation's time was now and that it was to start with the hospital in Marshall, Texas, Lady Bird's hometown. Smith considered the possibility he could be killed on this assignment, and news images from the time suggest that his worries were not unfounded. But off he went. Smith met with the county hospital's board of trustees, who told him in no uncertain terms that they were not going to desegregate. His response? "Well, all right, but you've just kissed $1 million of federal aid goodbye." Not a week later, Smith received a telephone call from the chairman of the hospital's board of trustees. The chairman told him that the board had just hired a new head administrator and that the hospital would, in fact, comply, as would the vast majority of the nation's thousands of hospitals over the next 6 months. Richard Smith would look back on this time as among the most difficult and frightening in his life, but he would also come to recognize that the assignment had taught him how to change attitudes and move an agenda forward even in the most difficult of situations.